Reese, welcome to the Transition Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. So I got to know you through Dante Harris, who is right there. The cameras can't see Dante, but Dante, thank you for this introduction.
Always in the background. I love Dante, man. Love that guy.
So just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. I know you and I have talked about, you are from Jamaica.
I am.
But I want to know where you were born, where you were raised, and just a little bit about Reese Wiley, the child.
The child, Reese Wiley. Love that. So again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. But so my name is Reese Wiley. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica. I was born there. Left when I was about 12 years old, then came over to Miami from there. Did a portion of middle school and high school here. Then I went away to school. I went away to 3 different schools actually because I played basketball. So actually it's really interesting because I think that going to 3 different universities in that time frame kind of molded who I would be like as a person, and also kept me open to adaptation, change, and different cultures. You know, 'cause I feel like if you stay in one place too long or too far, whatever you want to call it, then you could just get, I guess, comfortable and used to the same thing. So I was at FAMU, Go Rattlers, for 1 year, best band in the nation. I was there for a year, and then I went to a junior college in Pensacola, which is about 2 hours away from Tallahassee.
You went to Pensacola Junior College?
Yeah, I did.
So I played against, by the way, FAMU baseball, college baseball.
Okay.
We used to annihilate you guys for a little bit. But we had some good times in Tallahassee. Pensacola Junior College, I'm actually familiar with it because my dream school was Florida State University. So I was always, I would be invited to their baseball summer camp. Yeah. And then they had always, TCC would be on site, Indian River, Pensacola. Yep. So I don't know that about you. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was there for 2 years, man. And it's funny, going 2 hours west can be a complete different cultural change, you know, which is very interesting. Like in close proximity, you still have the complete opposite, you know, which was interesting for me. And then after that, I went to a mid-major school in Alabama called Faulkner University, which was actually a Christian university. And honestly, I did not want to go there. Like by all means, whatever I had to do not to go there, I was trying not to. But my mom, she insisted, and she actually drove up when they offered me. And she's the one that signed the papers. Because I was still, you know, like technically like I was still a minor or whatever. And even though I didn't want to, that was the only one left on the table after my injury. And I ended up there. And honestly, that was the best place that I could have been at, you know. And after that, came back home for a few, like maybe 2 months. And then I went to play basketball in Dominican Republic. And then came back after that and decided I didn't want to keep playing anymore. So I thought to my mom, I was like, Ma, well, you know, I don't want to play basketball. I want to hang it up. And she was like, you know what, go back to school. And luckily I met a mentor in Pensacola that actually guided me towards the medical field. So my mom was more so insistent on the nursing or want to be a doctor because I studied biology. But I was like, I don't want to be a doctor. I felt like, to me, and no offense to any doctors in the world at all, it wasn't my passion. I wasn't more so for, you know, going in, and what I've seen from doctors in my past, not saying it's practice now, was you go in, they see you for 5 minutes, they prescribe, and then they're out. Yeah. You know, I'm very relational. So I wanted to find something that was going to be able to allow me to impact individuals, get to know individuals, and just like do life. So I was going the physical therapy route. And when I applied to PT school, I applied to like 14 schools, bro. I had the grades, I had the experience, all that stuff, and they all came back with a denial. And I was like, dude, like, what the heck? Like, how can I get denied from all these schools? I had a GPA, I had the prayer life. I was on it. I was like, Lord, if you do this for me, I'll do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff. And it was a no. So my mentor called me like, hey, look, apply to this sports med program at FIU. Okay, cool. I did it. I was like, man, if I don't get in, bro, I don't know. I'm about to just, you know what I'm saying, backpack or something, which I always wanted to do, was whatever. But I actually got into the program. So I got in and I left that summer. I was at FIU for, 2 years in the master's program. And through that program, I was able to work all over, brother. I mean, from NBA, NFL, even had some experience with NASA, NASCAR, all these things, but it came from that one yes, you know? So I definitely am a believer in like, what's for you is going to be for you, and what's not, it's not going to be for you. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, where I'm at today is due to the path that God kind of laid out prior to, and the no's of those PT schools. Because in essence, if I would have gotten into PT school, I may not be a business owner today. You know, I may have went to work in a hospital or whatever. I'd have been a completely different person. Yeah. But because I went through that route and I saw the different avenues to which I could take, and I took the road less traveled, and it got me to be here. So that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing. So did you come from Jamaica at a very young age, or did you do high school in the States?
Pardon me?
Did you do high school in the States?
High school in the States, yeah.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Robert Morgan, but I played at Southridge.
You played at Southridge?
Mm-hmm.
I like Southridge. Good
We're
program.
dogs down there, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a culture shock coming from Jamaica to the States?
Yeah, I actually had to learn like full-on English, like as far as a dialect.
Okay.
Because in Jamaica we speak a lot of patois, or you have the Jamaicans that speak more so like the Queen's English because it's a British colony, right, or owned by the British or whatever you want to call it. We didn't have the dialect to speak that was going to be clear to any of my instructors. So I came over from Jamaica to here, and my professors called. My mom was like, "Hey, look, like we don't understand a word your son is saying, ever." Yeah, like I don't. And still I have that problem today. Sometimes I speak too fast, and Dante can attest to that. But I had to take classes to learn how to speak English, like as my actual dialect versus, you know, what we speak in Jamaica, which is patois. But it was rough because I think in essence, coming from a different country to here, a lot of people just aren't necessarily accepting. So I was actually very silent and quiet. Because of my and
language. You're not shy, so
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, this is actually nuts, right? I mean, now I'm not, but when I first came here, it was like I was in a corner to myself, always.
Really?
You know, even in high school, like I see people today and like, hey, aren't you like Reese? I'm like, yeah. Like, dude, like, what happened? Like in between, because they know me as something completely different than what I am today. You know?
Yeah, no, the language barrier and the culture shock may have just, you know, kind of put a little fear in you and 1,000%. Not feeling comfortable and not feeling in your environment. So
1,000%.
So in that, I mean, it's obviously, you know, basketball did a lot for you.
1,001%. Yeah.
Basketball really helped you become the man that you are today and led you towards all these different paths, relationships, education. You're very well cultured, very well mannered. And I think basketball definitely had a huge influence in your life. Did you have any basketball coach that really a specific coach that kind of?
I think that's a great question. I think all of my coaches had a huge role to play because I went through, like maybe 5 different coaching styles. And because they were all different, again, I think that just molds the character, molds the adaptability, like builds that perseverance, the toughness, all the things that you need in order to succeed. But I remember my first basketball coach, actually my very first basketball coach when I came over here was Michael Santiago. Awesome guy. But when I first came here, I didn't have much. You know what I'm saying? Like we came from a place where we had a lot, everything was fine. And then we basically flew over and was like, yeah, we got to figure this out. You know, so Mike and his mom, they basically took me under their wing. They took me to all the Heat games. They would, you know, take me to school, or they would give me, you know what I'm saying, food or whatever. Like they literally was like, you know what, you're my son, I got you. You know, and that helped out a lot, just knowing that there were people out there that would nurture, protect, build you up. Because initially you come over and you're like, I have my guard up. Like you think that everybody's against you, you know? So they broke that wall down. And then my first high school coach, Coach Ashbury, actually, and I talked to him today still, he was like on top, like, yo, like, I'm going to smack you, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of guy. And initially I was like, yo, like, who is this person in my life just like yelling and screaming? But then he has the opposite side where he would be like joking around or whatever. But I needed that in order to build like tough skin, right? And even develop the ability to know like, hey, look, like I have this one guy yelling in my ear consistently that I can do something, but until I believe in myself, it's not gonna get done. So you'd be like, yo, shoot the ball. You got to. I'm like, dude, like, I can't shoot, like, whatever. And my mom would tell me all the time, like, yo, shoot the ball, shoot the ball, shoot the ball, like yelling in the stands, yelling. And then he would finally affirm that, be like, yo, Reese, shoot the ball. I'm not going to get mad. All right, cool, say less. And I started building that confidence. Oh, yeah, I can make this, I can make this, I can make this, I can make this. And then it became a thing. you know, but then he was also harder on me because he saw, I guess what he would say is like more potential.
Correct.
Like, hey, look, like, hey, you're raised a certain type of way, whatever. All odds are against you. I want you to win, but I'm going to be on you to make sure you do win. You know, but his version of winning was more so from a tough love standpoint to where, like, I needed that, bro. Because, like, after that point in 9th grade, parents split up. Like, I was kind of on my own, like, heavily. And, like, I would always remember, you know what I'm saying, the words that he would say. You know what I'm saying? Like, he always be like, yo, poise, control, patience. Those 3 things. Right? He's like, that's going to get you through life.
I like that. Poise, control, and patience.
Poise, control, and patience.
Yeah. And
through that, it's like you think about any obstacle, any challenge, anything that comes in your way, like, you have to have poise, right? You know, even you're the head of your household, right? Like, you have your family. And I'm sure it wasn't the easiest thing building a family or even get to where you're at today. But anytime something came to smack you in your face, like, you had to either, like, react or respond, right? So if you respond from a standpoint of a poise, like, or composed, right, you can more so think more clearly and then make the proper, you know, choice or decision you need to make in order to keep going forward, right? And then you realize, okay, I can only control what I can control. My external environment is going to always be that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's like on the basketball court, right? They would trap and pressure. He's like, yo, when the trap comes or whatever, like, yo, stay poised. So let them come. All right, cool. They're the adversary, right? They're the challenge. They come. And you hold the ball. You're like, all right, cool. I got 2 people right here. All right, so then I'd say poise. All right, what can I control? I can control where I put this ball, where I pass this ball, or what I visualize and see. So let me take 2 steps back. Boom, boom. I analyze. I look. They're still, like, rushing. Great, or whatever. And then you know, okay, I can split this. I can pass it backwards, or I can look over the top to the very corner where I know it's going to be somebody, or I can just shoot down the lane, and someone's going to go get it, right? And then from there, okay, cool. You know what you're going to do. And you stay patient within the whole process. Because at the end of the day, like, time's going to tell all, right?
Yeah.
And then you can't really force time to go by. But you know that within time, you develop everything you need in order to be successful or make the right decision or see the decision, like, flourish and nurture.
No doubt about it. And I love the fact that, you know, when I hear you talk and you say poise, control, and patience, at such a young age, he planted the seed of emotional intelligence in you.
1,000%.
You know, and it's funny, you know, we use, I love to talk about control the controllables, or control what you can control. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not, I don't know if maybe I just, for whatever reason, throughout my entire career, throughout my entire life, I never really understood. Nobody ever said control what you can control to me, right? So, like, growing up for me in a certain environment or whatnot, I didn't realize I had that choice. Like, you grow up in an environment where you think that you have to try to save everybody or try to be there and overextend yourself and not realizing that, hey, you can't control somebody else's life or decisions or personality or whatever it may be. The only person you can control is yourself. Right. I actually put that on my podcast yesterday. I just wrote it up, and, you know, I learned that at an older age, believe it or not. And I wonder sometimes, like, what my athletic career would have been like if I would have had that mentality. So the fact that, you know, you're only 30 years old, running your company, and already know that since you were a kid, gives you such an advantage on and off the field, because it's a principle you will use for the rest of your life. Right. Yeah. I always say control what you can control is not the easiest thing to do, right? Because we all have our, you know, we want to help somebody sometimes or whatever the case may be, but that is the reality, is that we can only control what we can control. So he planted that seed in you, and it probably gave you a lot of maturity and prepared you for the game of life, which is when you're in now. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, you mentioned that life got a little bit tough when your parents split up. Yeah. What was that like?
This guy, Fern, bro, he's like, let me dig deep into your soul today. All right, cool, let's run it. But I think, so when my parents split up.
Well, I come from divorced parents, so
You get it. So I think, I mean, even so, like, divorced or split up households or unhealthy households is maybe like, 80 or 90% of the states, I feel like. And my percentages could be a little bit off, but I'm sure there's somewhere around there. But I think for me in particular.
It's about 50% in the United States of America. Yeah.
That's
very sad. Very sad.
Yeah. I think for me, when my parents split up, it was just like a sad day, because I've never seen my parents, like, argue or fight. So it literally just came out of like, hey, look, like mom's out, she left, like, cool, you know? And I think from that standpoint, my sister went with my mom and I stayed with my pops. But my dad, he was more so, he was super chill, bro. He's Jamaican, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's very, like, easygoing. You put some Bob Marley in the background, he's just like, all right, man, yeah, man, all right, cool, everything crisp, all right. You know, but my mom is like, yo, she gonna go get it. You know, because at the end of the day, like, you know, we didn't have our papers. Correct. So my sister I was fortunate, she was 16 at the time. So she's already in her head, and my mom in her head, like, yo, like, how are we going to send my daughter to college? Because in order to get to a college, you have to be, have a green card, residency, or a citizen, right? And she's like, yo, like, we're here illegally. You know what I'm saying? Which, I mean, majority of people down here, we came like that, and we had to figure it out. So my mom was like, yo, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to make it happen, whatever. But when she left, like, I had such, like animosity against her leaving. Cause I was like, dude, like, you don't leave us behind like this. You know what I'm saying? You don't leave me behind like this. Like, yo, like, I'm your seed, you know? But my dad was like, yo, we'll figure it out, we'll get through it. So, I mean, honestly speaking, like, from when she left, it was like, we were basically like homeless, to be honest. Cause we would jump from like our friends' homes or couches or like sleep on the floors or, you know, wherever we can lay our head, me and my pops, we lay on our head. You know what I'm saying? We call it a day. And we get up the next day, run it, keep figuring it out. But after that, we ended up in Overtown. And when I was in Overtown, it wasn't like the best, I mean, it's still not the best neighborhood. I think it calmed down a little bit now, but when I was there, it was like you outside and like just know like you might have to throw hands or you might see something crazy or whatever it may be, you know? And my mom didn't want me switching from the school I was at because it was a very good educational institution, right? I didn't want to switch playing basketball because I loved Southridge, I loved my coaches or whatever.
So you were driving from Overtown to Southridge?
Yeah, so I would take the Metro Rail, right from Jackson, and I'll take it down to where Shorty's Barbecue's at, and then hop on the bus, take the 52 over to Coral Reef, and I'll transfer buses to get down to South Ridge.
How old are you?
14. So that from 14 to 16.
All by yourself?
Yeah. And then it got to a point where Overtown got pretty like rough. And that's when my mom actually found out like I was in Overtown because she didn't realize.
Okay.
And then she got me an apartment down south. So I was at the apartment from 16 to 17. And I would just go to school, you know what I'm saying, play ball, walk back home, go to school, play ball, walk back home. She would send me some bread or whatever to get like groceries and stuff like that. But at that time, like, it was crazy because I didn't realize what emotional trauma was until like now. Like, I was having like nightmares and like I wake up in the middle of the night like this. Yo, Dad, where you at? You know what I'm saying? Like, Ma, like, you know? And it was like, I just had to figure out how to deal with that stuff, you know? And I think it wasn't until recently where I was able to get over that because I was able to acknowledge it. But it just built my character a lot more. Because now, you know, I go into my business or whatever, I go out into the world or whatever I do, you know, what I think my purpose really is and stuff like that. And I don't really run from a challenge. I don't really care if a challenge comes. I'm like, yo, I've been through a lot of things that people haven't. And by the grace of God, I'm able to overcome with his help. But now I see it like, if you sustain your faith, you know what I'm saying, and you keep God first in your life, and that verse that says you can do all things through Christ, I'm like, I can do anything, you know? It may take a little bit longer or whatever it is, but because my mindset, like, I'm like, all right, cool, a challenge comes, if this happens, X, Y, Z, all right, let me step back, poise, control, patience. Where am I moving to? What I need to do? Boom, let's get it done. And there's not one situation, in my opinion, from what I've experienced, right, in my life, that can't be resolved, right? And I could be wrong in that statement, but just from what I've experienced, like, there's always a way. But the way may not be what you want it to be, but there's always a way to which you can kind of navigate and either make it better or just like be able to cope and deal and move it forward. You know, so I'm very much so, because of those experiences and situations, like a move forward kind of guy. But now I know how to, I think, just analyze and like process emotion better, you know, because before I didn't. I was like, all right, cool, well, this is happening, basketball court. This is happening, hey, I'm going to go over here with my friends. You know, I didn't know how to like, okay, sit down, be present. Okay, this is the emotion that's happening. This is what I feel. All right, it's okay to feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to feel the emotion. You know what I'm saying? And from feeling the emotion, then it's okay to process it.
Say that again. It's okay to.
It's okay to feel.
Yeah.
But we were never taught that.
You're talking to a guy who used to suppress all his feelings,
I
right?
bet, yeah.
So like what, I get you a lot because my life was very similar in the sense of, take the bus to 2 days at Coral Gables High School doing football. My grandma was involved heavily, and so was my father in our life, and my mom is too. But just because of the circumstances and the division and other challenges, I was on. Me and my brothers were on our own a lot.
Yeah.
But the one thing I can tell you for a fact is that you're 14 years old. You're in Overtown. It's no secret that that's probably one of the toughest communities in the entire country.
Fact.
Right? Great people, but in a neighborhood where survival is everything.
It is.
And it's gone from generation to generation. I don't necessarily think that's the answer for them, but that's just the way it is right now. Mm-hmm. But it's no coincidence to me that the fact that you learn to survive at such a young age, right? You could read whether or not you were in a train and am I in a safe place? Is the dude next to me trying to take my wallet? I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that happen in real life, right? Mm-hmm. When you're alone and you're 14 years old and you're going to, 20 plus miles in a tough inner city neighborhood. That guard, that constant feeling of survival taught you to survive.
Right.
Right. And it's probably, it's why you are where you are today. Mm. I will say that survivor skills are crucial, and this is the hardest part. This is the hardest part I face with my children, right? It's like, okay, well, I know I have this skill set that the environment I had kind of just determined the fact that I had to survive, right? Because we're all here to survive. I mean, it's our God natural instinct, right?
Yeah.
But then, it's now finding a balance of like, you don't want that life for your kids, and you won't have that life for your kids, and you won't have that life for your upcoming little girl, right? It won't happen. Mm. You won't allow it to happen. You'll see what I'm talking about.
No, I get it.
Right? So, but, I do believe that survival skills are so important, and, you have to learn to survive before you learn how to thrive. Mm-hmm. You can't just start thriving. It's just, you gotta build. You gotta get your ass kicked. Mm-hmm. You gotta read the room. You gotta have anticipation skills. You gotta break down spiritually, physically. Getting punched in the mouth, I think, is a great thing sometimes. I remember being in little stupid 3-on-3 basketball fights on the court, but hey, it manned you up. You know what I'm saying? And nowadays, it's like, now I struggle because I'm like, my kids live a whole different life. So the only way that I have figured out, and I don't necessarily think, I am not a believer that you have to be brought up in this. There's this, in my opinion, this talk out there of like, all these kids that make it in MLB or the NFL or MEA or whatever they play, they come from, they want it more because they have, maybe that is true, right? But it shouldn't have to be that way. You should be able to grow up with mom and dad in the house, or, caring parents, and where there's love and still build a tough human being for the world. I really believe that. I don't think you have to go through this mental abuse or this constant insecurity of like, how do I just make it to tomorrow, right? Because then that brings out non-healthy emotional anxiety in people, depression, all sorts of different mental health issues that I think are unavoidable if we just knew how to communicate, right? But it's definitely not a coincidence that you went through a lot, and then you're this guy with this big smile. You run this amazing company. You're a people person, right? You attract people. It's your gift. And a part of me thinks that like you had no choice than to just build this guy and do all this. But your faith in God, you mentioned Christ, and you mentioned I can do all things through Christ, and I know you exude faith. When did that happen in your life?
Faith? I mean, honestly, so I grew up in church, but I think when my parents split up is when I kind of stepped out and stepped away. So it was myself and both my cousins, my sister, we all just bounced, man. Because at that point I was like, man, there is no way this is like what God's love looks like, and there's no way that he has my back, because why would he let this happen to me? Right, so like even today, you look at your friends or whatever that loses like loved ones or some crazy situation happens, you're like, yo, why would God make this happen or whatever it is? And it's like, yo, I get it. Because, what I'm saying, I went through that same emotional state, that same feeling. That I was like, yo, like he's not here. Like, who is this guy? So I went on my journey, and when I was, 21. So like from 14, 21, you couldn't basically catch me in a church. Right, you couldn't catch me wanting to be around nobody that was like, yeah, I believe in God. Like, I'm like, all right, cool, shut that up, I'm good, And it was funny that all these things happened in college where, bro, like I had all these D1 offers, bro, on my plate after the JUCO, and I get hurt, and the only one that's left is, a Christian school. That's why I didn't want to go there. So my mom, remember I told you my mom like pulled up and she's like, nah, she signed the contract, like, nah, he's coming to your school. And I was like, Mom, I'm not going to this Christian school, bro. Like, no way. I go to chapel every day and listen to them talk about this book, bro. But of course, like you sit there and you listen and you meet great people. Because at the end of the day, we're all human, bro. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to meet people that aren't so good and people that are great. It is what it is. But I was blessed enough to have people that were great around that would kind of like nurture me and mold me. And then when I was 21, we had an opportunity to go on a mission trip, right? So my mentor came up or whatever. He was like, hey, yo, look, like, I think you should go on a mission trip. And I was like, brother, like, what is that? Oh, you go, like, you talk about God. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, y'all know where I'm at. You know where I stand. And he was like, look, how about you pray this? Like, if you make the money, right, because we had to raise like $7,000, something like that. I was like, I'm not paying out of my pocket that. But I was like, if I make $7,000, like, or raise $7,000 in the next week where you need to buy, I'll go. Bro, I had it in a day, bro. Word got around that, oh yeah, we're going to send Reese on a business trip. Bro, like, I mean, people from the community, because I was very well known in that area, they just started dropping bags left and right. And like, oh yeah, you raised like, it was like 7,500 or something like that. I was like, damn, so I got to go to Africa? He's like, yeah, you got to go to Africa. So whatever, I flew out to Africa that summer because that's where I graduated. Flew out to Africa, and the way it was set up, like there's like the village is called Mtandir, right? So in their language, it means peace, right? So like our hut was at the top of the mountain kind of vibes, but there was another mountainside on the, like you can see in front of us, and the valley was the village, right? So every morning we'd go to the little gazebo, look out, what I'm saying, and you see like the sunrise. And the thing is, sunrise in Africa is different, right? Sunrise in Africa is like, it's dark as can be, right? And then as the sun starts coming up, it changes from like pitch black to like a navy to red to an orange.
How
like
cool
you see,
is that?
Bro, it's beautiful. Like it literally, like it brings a sense of peace, but also it brings a sense of, oh yeah, God does exist, right?
Like there's something bigger than me.
Yeah. But the thing is this, that's not where I met God at, again, right? Where I met him was in the valley, right? Sitting next to this little African kid or whatever, because end of the day, it's a village, right? So they have rations, right? So like, I only eat a certain amount a day for the next 2-3 weeks. And I'm like, bruh, nah, that's not how I move. I need food. So I'm sitting there, I was hungry, bro. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm here in the middle of Africa, bro. I'm having like this watered down rice with like a little bit of chicken and like some greens. The kid looks at me and he starts nudging his food over. I was like, bro, nah, chill out. Because like, yo, you need to eat. Right? Like, no, you really need to eat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all don't got nothing. Eat that. And he looks at me. He's like, yo, you're hungry. I was like, yeah. And he was like, look, like, have my meal. It's okay. And then he left. And I was like, bro, first of all, for a little kid, right, to acknowledge that, hey, you need something, and them to give up basically their last of the day to feed somebody else, that's where it hit me like, yo, like, all right, God really does exist. At that moment, it kind of had like a switch up in my mind. All right, I need to be open to this again. But it's like in the word, it says, I'm saying like, God's your provider, like he's your peace, like he's all these different things. But sometimes we don't see God in all the different lights. I'm saying? We see him in like just one. until he reveals the fact that, I'm all these things. You know what I'm saying? And when I started to see, he's actually all these things, like Jehovah Jireh, Nissi, Rapha, all these things, and he started proving in my life, I was like, Lord, look, I'm going to challenge you to this. I was like, it's my prayer. I was like, dude, so if you are who you say you are, right, and I kind of sort of thinking that you might be, you got to show it. You got to show it, fully, or else I'm not going to believe. So then I came back to the States after that or whatever, and I can name instances after instances after instances where the Lord legit just showed up in my life, heavily, and he proved all those Jehovah's. And because he proved all those things, I was like, I have no reason but to believe, brother. You know what I'm saying? I see when you said, all right, cool. And even to today, bro, it's the community I have, the people I run into, the purpose that I've found that really does drive me and motivates me and gives me more life, it all revolves around him. You know what I'm saying? Showing people yo, look, listen, I'm not going to press down your throat, yo, repent and, you know what I'm saying? That's not me, ever. That's not, I don't think that's effective.
I don't think that works.
It doesn't, right? You show your life, right? Your life should be light. You know what I'm saying? And as you start interacting with more people and people start feeling what real, godly love looks like, then that really hits them. Yo, what's good with this guy, bro? Yo, you're 6'5" with dreads, you know what I'm saying? You dress a little bit funky sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You're kind of cool, but kind of not. Yo, what's up with you? I'm bro, I just love Jesus, bro. But, I'm not afraid to proclaim my faith. Or when somebody asks, yo, I run it. But then also I'm not afraid to be yo, I'll sit in rooms with Islam, Jews, Buddhists. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they're people. Right? And I'm not going to be able to tell you, yo, if you're raised Buddhist your whole life, you're wrong. I would never do that. You know what I'm saying? I live my life for Christ. And if you see the difference between what I'm doing and what you got going on, and you want to be hey, look, I want to find out more, which happens all the time, then I talk. You know what I'm saying? But even now, I wear a Jewish star and I wear a cross on my neck.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I have them both. Both of them. So everywhere I go, yo, are you what are you? What are you doing? I'm well, one, you can always play the part, yo, Jesus was a Jew. All right, cool, we get that. But that's not where it came from. It came from a standpoint where I had a bunch of families that were Jewish, right? And they were yo, come to Shabbat. I'm down. So I kept pulling up the Shabbat over and over and over and over again, right? And it got to a point where they were hey, pray over the meal. And I was guys, if I pray over this meal, I'm going to say in Jesus' name. I know y'all don't really rock with it like that. So I don't want to dishonor everything. No, do your thing. You've sat here, you've honored our tradition, you've been very respectful, you've had deeper conversations with us, run it. So I prayed, I was in Jesus' name, and they were amen. And I was cool, vibes, you know?
It's funny you say that because I don't think God is playing one big game.
Right.
Of who's wrong and who's right. And God forgive me if I'm wrong when I ever say these things. I really don't. I don't think life's that complicated.
Right.
I don't think his intention was to, when I talk about the Father, I don't know, you're going to hell and you're going to heaven and who's right and who's wrong. And I, even as a Christian, I'm going to say something very controversial.
Run it, bro. I'm going to say it with you. I got your back. You my guy. Whatever you say, I say.
Well, you mentioned this little boy in Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm feeling my emotions.
Go run it.
Because you said that's where you met Christ. Well, it's probably true because he was willing to sacrifice himself for you.
1,000%.
So it makes me a little bit emotional that don't ask me why I'm emotional, but I found it to be very strong because of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is the image of God. It's sacrifice. It's here's, take off my shirt, give it to you, make sure you're okay. I don't. There's no church in the world. There's no sermon in the world that can. No, I don't know. Take away from that actual action of somebody doing that. Mm-hmm. But as you grow older in your faith and you see the grace of God, and you see humans, and you start to see Christ in people, I don't think we really can comprehend the love that God has for his people.
You'll never be able to. Because even consider the fact you're talking about sacrifice, and just kind of piggyback off of it, it's like, okay, cool. Well, it says that he died on the cross for us, right? And we don't really actually like really look how deeply that really means, right? Because if one of us were to right now, like, yeah, we got to get crucified, I'm like, nah, bro, we don't throw our hands. But he like willingly, right? Like went on a cross. You had nails in your hand. You got this joint right here. You carried a cross on your back for like miles and miles. You're bleeding, like you're suffering. But at one point, remember, like he thought about everybody in the world that was ever going to exist, right? And you're talking about everybody's hurt and everybody's pain, right? What's the hardest thing you went to that you felt pain?
Like physical pain?
Yeah.
I got hit in a ball with a baseball, and I had oral surgery.
And that's like 10 out of 10 pain.
Thank God, with God's grace, that for me was bad, bro. I mean, that was painful, almost to a point where you kind of go numb. But they stuck out like a huge syringe. Like,
oh my God. That was graphic. Didn't expect that. But nah, check me out. So that's the toughest physical pain, right? And now you talk about like the emotional pain, right? So like for me, like sometimes like if somebody talks to me or whatever, you can like really empathize. Empathize. Thank you guys in the background. Empathize with them, right? You start feeling what they're feeling. Remember, that's just one person that you just felt.
Yeah.
Right? This man that died on the cross, he felt billions of people's pain, right? Talking about anxiety, depression, anything you ever went through that you were like, oh my God, like he felt that in one moment, right? So imagine you taking on all that, right? And you're willingly sacrificing your body, like, you know what? Like I'm gonna take it on myself. Bro, that's what he went through. So we'll never be able to like comprehend that feeling at all.
I also think that like in that moment of history that forever changed our lives, I also think about like, physical pain is one thing and emotional pain is another, man.
100%.
I think people deny, emotional pain is real and you feel it and it hurts and it molds you and it just put me on my knees many times. But also the pain of feeling betrayed. And I think that's an awful feeling, right? And I think we've all gone through that in parts of our life where we feel betrayed. We're like, why are you doing this to me? Like, this ain't cool.
Right.
And, he felt betrayed. He said, he asked the Father, can you remove this cup, dude? Like, I don't want, this is awful. I don't need this. I feel forsaken from my own father. So And
that was the second time.
Correct.
Because the first time it was, one of his best friends.
Yeah.
Judas.
Yeah.
Turned his back on him.
Correct.
So imagine the time when your best friend was like, that you felt like, dang, bro, like really?
Yeah, like you're just gonna turn on me and betray me.
Felt
like
everything.
That. But that's what he was teaching us, was like, man will do that to you. The flesh will do that to you. And if we're in this world, but we're not of it, right? Because for whatever reason, on this world, it's a broken world. There's a broken system. I mean, it's funny. You watch the whole war with Russia and Ukraine now, and we can go back into politics and we can go back into history. Nothing's changed. It's been the same way since the beginning of time. I mean, it all started in the garden, right? I mean, It's just don't do that and you'll be all right. Well, we decided to figure things out ourselves, and that got us into a whole lot of trouble. But going back to this little boy and to the grace and to the sacrifice, it's really obviously impacted you. Yeah. And I have to believe that there'll be moments in your life where you don't feel so great and you go back to that one moment that changed your life. We all have a buddy of mine I work with very closely. he brought in a guest speaker, a guy named Stephen Jones. He's the winningest head football coach in the state of Wisconsin in high school. I think he's like 117-8, but he's like an amazing guy, very smart. And he read it. I was on a conference call with him today, or a Zoom call, and he talked about have you ever heard of the starfish story? Mm-mm. A little boy. There's a little boy and a man walking in the ocean, and actually, this little boy walking by the sand, and he's throwing in starfish into the ocean. And the man walks up to him and says, "You're wasting your time. Like, you can't. Like, high tide's coming. You can't. There's too many starfish." And then he throws one in the ocean. He's like, "Well, I helped that one." You know? Mm-hmm. So we can all make one difference in our life for one person.
Facts.
You know, that's kind of your starfish moment. You know, I've had mine, and we've all had ours. There's always been that one person, that one. You know, it's why the older I get, the less I almost want to talk, because I just want to listen. Because I find now, like, that be still and know that I am God. Mm-hmm. You know, I hear God through people. Like,
always.
I don't hear God from the heavens and he, you know, burns the bush and I'm walking. I ain't down with that.
I actually seen it the other day.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Bush.
Like,
love that guy.
You just start to realize, man, that Christ is everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, he's omnipresent. Everywhere.
And God is everywhere.
Yep.
And it's this world that we live in that's so loud, that's so full of me and what's in it for me, and this survival that doesn't allow you to just like, dude, I'm here. Like, this is a good life. And that's one of the things that I love to talk about in this podcast, that this is an amazing life, bro. This is an amazing journey. Like, I am more excited about life today than I have ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And people say, well, the world's going to hell and all. I don't care. I'm not, because I'm walking with a dude. Mm-hmm. And somehow I just feel like God keeps putting more of the same like-minded people around me. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I don't find that to be a coincidence either. Right. So you start to create this, you know, he calls it, my people shall be shielded. Well, maybe we all find each other and we create this environment that has all these different types of boundaries that allow us to kind of grow up together and be healthier together, especially emotionally. Mm-hmm. You know, I talk about emotional intelligence a lot, Reese, because it's one thing that, like, it's such a necessary item. Like, I don't care if you go to Harvard, Yale, or any Ivy League school in the country, and you graduate with a 4.0 and you have a master's and a doctoral. If you've got no emotional intelligence, you have such a handicap in your life.
1,000%. Because
you won't be able to handle a boss telling you ain't doing the job right.
Yeah.
And you could take it personal. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't, relationships, friendships. I don't know. But it's amazing to me that, you know, the emotional intelligence you gained at such a young age, but it was almost by survival. Yeah,
100%. I think I think one thing that you said just now was about, like, the whole shield concept. I think that one of the most important things I've learned over the past couple of years is the importance of community, right? But it can't be just any community. It's like a very particular set of community or people around you that's going to go ahead and, like you said, like the shield, the guard, the project you forward, all those things. Because what happens is this, like, the people that you're around, right? Like, there's this, what's that quote about the 5 people you're around or whatever? Like, you're the average of them or something like that?
You're the average of the 5 people you hang around.
You're average of the 5 people you hang around. But I think in this context, right, it's like we realize now more than ever that people need each other, right? You think about solitary confinement in jail. What happens to all of them? They all go crazy, right? You think about Jesus. He had his 12 guys around him. The only time that he was away was when he had to go pray. You know what I'm saying? Talk to God. You know what I'm saying? Like, spend his me and God time, and that's it. Otherwise, he had his group.
Well, think about it. I think the only time in the Bible ever mentions that Christ had anxiety was when he was alone. And it said his anxiety was so bad that he actually bled. I actually Googled that, and scientifically that can happen to you.
Yeah.
But it never happened to him in the presence of his people.
Right.
It happened to him in solitary. And that's our mind. I mean, think about that, right? Like, I remember when I left baseball, and I started to suffer from severe anxiety and panic attacks. I literally thought I was alone. Like, whether that makes any sense to anybody, I did not talk about it. I would not share it with you guys because I didn't want you guys to judge me and think, oh, Fernie's crazy or Fernie's whatever. I had no idea what I was going. I didn't know what that was like. So I withheld all that, and that's why it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse, right? So it just goes to show you that I'll give you an example. It got so bad at one point, and here's the crazy part. I was still able to survive and make money under all that, because when you got to do it, you'll find a way.
You got to do it, exactly.
And I say this today, and I'm not ashamed of sharing this, but because I actually do want to share it, because if somebody's listening to this, I want somebody to understand that there are people out there that get you. Some are willing to get vulnerable about it. I am. Some are not. I can remember at some point it got so bad. I lived in Doral, and I would only have lunch at the Subway because that's where I felt comfortable. So like I would do whatever I had to do, but if I had to have lunch, I went there. Because for whatever reason, that's where I felt safe, you know? So I was literally isolating myself without me realizing subconsciously that dude, you're isolating yourself, you know? And then, you know, as things got a little bit worse, I realized, dude, I gotta talk to somebody. This is not normal. But it's just to add to your statement of isolation and solitary confinement and you know, COVID, right? Let's just hang out in an apartment by yourself all day and get massively depressed because I'm terrified of talking to a human being. I mean, think about what the last 2 years did to people as well. Right. You know, with this whole media. I mean, look, guys, I mean, I respect the whole thing that happened, but like, we need each other, man. Like, we're not supposed to like, I mean, I remember Dante and I being here by ourselves, I'd bring 55-pound kettlebell, dumbbells on the truck, and we'd running around doing thrusters around here. But I'm like, yo, like, and I see it nowadays, like, the isolation and community, how important it is. And when you talk about faith, you know, people say, you know, oh, you don't need to have to go to church to believe in God. You know what? You're 1,000,000% correct. The reason why you go into that community, man, is because that energy is contagious. Right. That energy is like when you're not feeling too hot about yourself, dude, it just takes one guy to give you a big hug, say some encouraging words, and you're like, oh, I got this.
Yeah, word, yep.
You know?
Of course.
And we had that as athletes. We had that, you know, but we all, you know, life tends to, that's why I told you this morning, I said 30s is a crucial age for you guys, right? Because it's this part of your life where you're like, all right, now I'm like a man. Like a real man, like, right? Like now I got to figure it out, and then now I got to build, and it's almost like you're really finding out who you are. Right. Right? Who am I under pressure? Who am I, who am I? You know, and then we all know that we're all made in the image of God, but we're still on this earth. Yeah. And we're still flesh, and we're still growing. But yeah, man, that's an amazing story. Talk to me a little bit about Complex Professional. Dude, this guy's gym's badass. I'll say that right now. I love working out there. I do. Why are you laughing, man?
Hey, man, I do. Really funny, bro. He's like, all right, so let's talk about that's fine.
Yeah, dude, we're going to pivot real quick here, bro.
Complex Health and Wellness,
we got the spiritual side out of it. Let's go to...
He's like, we done with that. Now on to the next thing. So Complex Health and Wellness, man. That's like my baby, bro. That's my kid. It's my son.
That's how you should feel.
Yeah,
I walk in here, I feel like I have this big infant. Like I got 50 children.
Yeah.
It's horrible feeding sometimes too.
You see this new grass wall this guy has. It's kind of impressive. But your World Protect, I love it. JAG, shout out to them. But yeah, so basically I started this up May 2020, middle of COVID. And again, like I think God's hands is on my life, thank God. Because if not, bro, I'd probably be face first somewhere. But yeah, we started off with 1,200 square feet of space. And, you know, in the span of maybe, 4 or 5 months, we were able to basically grow and have to basically double in size. Yeah. But it was interesting because when we first got there was a dry cleaning establishment right next door, right, which is the front side of what you work out in now. Okay. It's called Ray's Cleaners. Okay, so Ray's ended up like kind of fizzling out because of COVID, consolidated to one location, which was I think somewhere over here. And then the landlord called me like, hey, bro, like, listen, like, Reese is moving out. I know you guys are just like tight packed in there right now. Do you want to expand? I was like, yo, 1,000%, but I'm not trying to pay for that. Like, I just dropped bang, open this thing up. But he was like, yo, you know what? You're good. The next year, no rent. Go ahead and build out your space. I'll also give you like tenant improvement for the space. And that's how we got it going. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And
so he gave you TI as well.
Gave me TI, my boy. Shout out to Spencer, bro. Spencer, you're a special guy. I'm trying to stay on his good side, you know? Yeah. So then we able to build out a little bit more of what the full concept is. Like, nobody even sees the full concept yet because we're not there yet, right? I know what it is, but it's like you can't give somebody oftentimes a very, very, very big picture.
So there's more to this.
Of course, bro. We dream big, big, big out here, brother.
I like that.
You know? But I'm a firm believer you can do anything, man. So like I said, like, bro, my prayer time, my me and God time, like, yo, that's when you deposit all the dreams and ideas and how you're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? But off the face, they're going back to the complex health and wellness. But within that construct.
A wise man named Denzel Washington said that the desires of your heart are God's proof to you that they're already yours.
Oof. I love that. You talking about Denzel that was in Training Day?
Yeah. The Denzel, dude. Like Training Day, like.
So all the boys at Pelican Bay.
Read up on his story.
But yeah, it was dope, man, because we expanded, we grew. We have, over 10 staff members now. We started off with just 3. Mm-hmm. So to grow that much in the past, year and a half, year and like 10 months or whatever it is.
It's amazing.
It's been beautiful. And even so, we've been able to construct relations and, whatnot in the community through the fire department, police department, working inside of like 3 different schools. And just often, like honestly right now is like our demographic, our population, the people that walk through our doors are such amazing people. It's like, yo, I couldn't even write that up myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for God, honestly, to bring all these people in through the doors or whatever, and we're thriving, we're successful, we're growing, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're having growing pains, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're having all these things to which we got to, like, you know what I'm saying, like, weed out and sift out. It's very, like, it's a very humbling thing. I walk in every day into the gym, and now it's to a point where, like, yo, nobody knows who owns that place, which is great. You know what I'm saying? Before I left today, they were having Salty Donut. Shout out to Salty Donut. We like your donuts. So sponsor us. No, but we're sitting there, and 2 clients, they're like, hey, you guys are eating donuts? I was like, man, look, hey, tell the boss that we need healthier food here, man. And she was like, you know what? Like, who's the boss? And I was like, I'll email them. And she was like, send me his email, I got you. So everybody starts laughing. Like, my staff starts laughing because they're just like, yo, like, this guy is nuts because, like, people just don't know. And it's great. I wanted to feel like, yo,
it's
nobody.
It's a healthy culture.
Exactly. So even that to the culture, like, being able to, I wrote down a culture, like a culture guide a year before I opened it, right? This is what I want it to look like, boom, 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 whatever. You know what I'm saying? These are the values. These are the morals. This is how you're going to behave, how you're going to act, like, it's how we're going to operate, all these things. Right, and then to implement it, but it was like I didn't really have to implement it because these people that are in here on staff already carry it out. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's one thing that we've always said with the culture is based by the design, not default. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to work towards it. You know what I'm saying? So like, yo, like even the hiring of the people, even like, hey, just like almost like I have to act a certain way, so they look at me and act that same way. You know what I'm saying? I have to empower and encourage these guys. I have to tell them, hey, look, like, you're going to be phenomenal. You're great. Like, you're doing a great job. Hey, you're not doing that great of a job right now. We got to adjust it. Or even going on walks with my staff and see, what's going on in your life? How can I help you? Like, and it's awesome also in a sense where, like, the word also says, like, they will know you by your fruit, right? And sometimes you got to stop, right? And you look around, you're like, all right, cool. Well, what fruit is here? Like, this is an actual thing that God wants me to do. You know what I'm saying? I sit down, I look around, I'm like, dang, well, I think 2 people got married already, like 3 bought homes this past year. Another one just like put down for I'm like, yo, these guys are thriving. You know what I'm saying? So I look, I'm like, man, Lord, if I didn't open this up and follow what you wanted me to do, none of them may have this opportunity. Mm-hmm. And even so, like, even the clientele, like the amount of opportunities within the establishment where clients linked up with other clients and clients hired, like, one of the cleaning guy even, bro, like, dude, this guy's story is phenomenal, bro. The guy was in prison or whatever, got out of prison, found Christ or whatever, started up a cleaning company, right, crushing it, right? But he met one of my clients, and one of my clients actually owns like a bunch of restaurants and hires him on for like a crazy amount of money to literally clean all the restaurants, right? And
Is that the gentleman who goes in there every 6 a.m.?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I didn't know he was a believer like that until we were sitting down. He was like, Reese.
I knew he was a believer. You know how?
How?
Because I opened up my car at 5:50 in the morning, and he had his van there, and he was blasting worship music.
Right. Yeah. So Jiffy
in an alley in South Miami.
Bro, booming, bro. Like
the nicest guy. So that guy was in jail?
Yes, bro.
There you go, man.
And it's crazy. I didn't know. He sat down. He was like, yeah, bro. I was like, no way. And then, he started asking me questions about like, how do you pray over this thing? How do you get over this? Like, I know you're a believer and stuff, but I'm struggling in this area. I'm like, bro, like, I realize you're on that, And then it hit me like, oh, duh, he's on that. Look how he moves, and what I'm saying, look at how he carries himself, like a ball of light. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like he got like maybe 3 or 4 other contracts from that facility. So I'm like, dude, like, Lord, you're doing your thing, you're moving, and that's the special part about my business. It's not like, what I'm saying, oh, we're working out. I don't think, bro, okay, cool, work out. You work out anywhere, bro. But we do have a high quality staff. Don't get me wrong, we're fire.
No doubt. But I know what you're saying. But people are there past the workout. They like the vibe. They like the energy. They like the commodity. The fact that you can have a conversation. The fact that you've built a community.
Yeah, facts.
You've built a community with like-minded people who want to take care of themselves with their physical fitness,
right.
Their body, which you're obviously huge on. You've got the physical therapy side of things.
Yes.
So you're offering all sorts of different services. And on top of that, it's just a vibing place. It's a happy place, right? It's not your typical gym where you walk in, walk up to the lady, here's my card, and beep, and I don't know you, and I don't care if you leave tomorrow.
So even to that, I hate like relationships that are transactional.
Correct.
It's like, it's not a relationship if it's a transaction. Like, and that's one of the things I even talked to my front desk about. I'm like, yo, like, you should literally be vested in all these people's lives that come to that desk. You have to be. You know what I'm saying?
You never know the opportunities that may open themselves up.
Exactly. And just by you carrying yourself in a manner to which like you're actually caring for somebody else or just checking on them or just celebrating little wins, brother, like it changes the ball game of not only your life, but the culture of what you're involved in. Like people walk through that door or our staff walks through, they feel at home, bro. They feel like they can be themselves, like organic. You know what I'm saying? There's no like front or, I got to put on nah, bro. Like, of course, be composed, correct. Look professional, like do your best job, but be yourself. Because that's even what the body of Christ looks like, bro. Like,
be real.
Be real.
I would
keep
say
it $150. That's it.
Real wins.
Real wins and real recognized real. Amen. But it's just a really beautiful place, bro. I really enjoy it. I think it's special. I think it's going to grow. Like, I know it's going to grow. I know it's going to grow.
Well, I already told you, but buckle up.
Oh, I got my seatbelt on. You know what I'm saying? All gas, no brakes, unless it's a red light. But, I'm really just grateful, like, that I'm in a position to where, I can really just empower other people, build them up, influence them, and also it holds me accountable to a higher standard. Like, dang, I got to be this way because, dang, turn around, you look back, you're like, dang, I got way too many people that's like in your nest. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, the Lord calls you to nurture, to provide, to protect. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I gotta look at my crop, I gotta look at my harvest, I gotta look at my grass, how to keep that bad boy green. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hire nobody to maintain my own grass if it's not, a whole acre. You know what I'm saying? You gotta take care of a little before you take care of much. So that's what I'm really operating in.
Well, I think your future is amazing. I think the business is amazing. I think you're amazing. God's definitely got plans for your life.
Appreciate it.
So as we wrap this up and you look at your life today, where you've come from, where you're heading, I got one question for you. What would you tell 18-year-old Reese Whiteley?
What would I tell 18-year-old Reese Whiteley?
Oh, where he's at today.
Like, go get it, King. No kidding. I would tell him, man, honestly, it just kind of takes me back to, like, I'm going to go back to scripture, but I'm going to take it back to, like, King David, right? And that's my guy, bro. Complete mess up, but that's my guy. But it's just crazy because how he walked with Christ was more so from a standpoint of, like, hey, man, I ain't going to move until the Lord says move. You know what I'm saying? If you say go, I'm going to close my eyes and just go. Even though I don't know what it looks like, I'm going to go in step. Because when you go out in faith, the Lord's going to honor it. what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you're protected, bro. Like 10,000 by one side. And bro, like there's nothing you can't do. Like if it's in God's will, you're gonna be good. And you look at Psalms 27 and the Lord's Prayer, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, my shepherd, I shall not want. Like the biggest statement in that whole thing that for me is like, I shall not want. And to me, I shall not want means that I'm always gonna be good, no matter what. And he's guarding me, bro. And it says he'll walk me through the valley before I get to the table. So guess what? I gotta go through things. But just know as you go through things, just hold his hand. So I would tell 18-year-old me, I'm like, put all your trust, all your faith in God, be on your knees, pray more, you know what I'm saying, seek him more, be in your word more, and just do good by everybody that you come across. And everything's gonna work out.
Amen. That's it.
That's it.
Appreciate you.
Love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
Oh boy, Fernie. My guy, bro. That's my guy, bro.